All right. Hello and good afternoon, Ohio. Hope everyone is having a great end to the summer. I love September. I'm ready to decorate for fall. I still have my summer decor up, but I'm planning for pumpkins, some more autumn florals. And it's currently hot here in San Jose, California, also ready for the weather to cool down. And we're going to wait another minute or so for more people to join. And yeah, let me know if you're able to use your Uber Eats, and hopefully you were able to enjoy your lunch while watching this webinar. And if you didn't get to use your Uber Eats code yet, I believe the email said it should be still good to use till Friday afternoon. And then see, let me know in the Q&A box what you've been getting for lunch. Right now it's 9 a.m. in San Jose, so we're still on breakfast time. I have some oatmeal on the side. And let's see, what is everyone eating in Ohio today? Okay, I got pizza. I'm seeing pepperoni pizza, a Cobb salad, and we got some tacos. Someone got like a really good Reuben. And I'm seeing, oh, someone got sushi. I love sushi. Seafood is my favorite. And we got some noodles. Someone is getting a burger. Okay. All right, so I saw a couple more people trickle in, and let's see. So before we get started with the presentation, just wanted to go over some housekeeping. At the end of this presentation, I'll be following up with the email to provide the HRCI and Shroom credits. And then if you have any questions today, I'll do my best to check in the question box. These questions will be saved. And I may not be able to address the questions as they come up, but we'll address them in the follow-up. And then if you want any further information, feel free to respond to the email I'll be sending with the credits. And we're also going to send a recording of the presentation you can share with colleagues. Oh, I see someone else in the Q&A. Panera French onion soup. That is really delicious. And everyone enjoy your lunch, and we're going to get started. So today we're going to talk about Ohio nonprofits and unemployment. Before I get started, just wanted to do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Janessa Ponko. I'm the membership development representative here at 501c Services. And I've been in sales since 2016. I was selling vendor booth space at a bridal show for about 3 years. I've set up meetings with tech startups during the pandemic. And currently I'm scheduling meetings with nonprofits here at 501c Services since July 2023. And then the image of people bowling is of me and some of my sales and marketing team members. Heidi is my manager in the middle. You may work with her in the future. And then Evan is on our right. He does our marketing and web development. I'm really excited to be part of a team that's helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. And our company is located in San Jose, California. We're in the heart of the Silicon Valley, and we're dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. So we're going to provide a quick overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works. We're also going to use some real life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis, and finally provide more information on 501c services and how many of our Ohio nonprofits have benefited from our services. So first of all, just wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US in the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. From 1930 to 1972, 501c3 organizations didn't pay into unemployment benefits for these separate employees. Although they saved them money from paying these taxes, employees that were laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies provided. Now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government had changed the law under the Social Security Act to where nonprofits must pay into unemployment, but they were provided different options in how they pay, so that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. Unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you can see different taxable wage bases, tax rates, benefit amounts, but we're just going to cover information today here in Ohio. When it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So for instance, if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And most states, including Ohio, run as a risk pool. So what you're putting into that pool, that amount of money, doesn't necessarily equate to what you're going to get out of it. And we are seeing nonprofits put money into that pool than what they are getting in return. And then these total tax liabilities by employers, they're often greater than the claims paid, with reserves used in times of recession. And to calculate that tax liability, you would multiply your taxable wage base by your employer rate. So the maximum weekly benefit in the state of Ohio, it ranges from $600 to $810, depending on the number of dependents in your household. The federal government sets a wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum. And currently, Ohio's taxable wage base is set at $9,000. So, which means for the first $9,000 an employee earns, your organization will be taxed on that. So the majority of employers in Ohio may pay their taxes in the first quarter, but you might see any taxes paid after the first quarter, maybe for like seasonal employees, new hires, or any employees making less than $9,000. And for Ohio, the minimum tax rate is at 0.5%. The maximum tax rate is at 10.2%. And those are both set by the state. So for Ohio, your weekly benefit amount is calculated at 1/2 of your average weekly wage during your base period. However, this weekly benefit amount can't exceed the state's maximum levels established each year. And then the maximum levels are based on a number of allowable dependents claimed. So this is a table that indicates the 2025 maximum for each dependency classification. And for Ohio, 26 weeks is the maximum amount of weeks someone can claim in unemployment. And when you multiply that number by your weekly benefit amount, you could be paying up to $15,600 to $21,060 per employee in unemployment. And then the last thing I want to note is the improper payment rate from the last few slides. It's at 9.4%. And then this equates to around $195 million in overpayments to former employees who are collecting unemployment in the past 3 years. This is information that we get from the Department of Labor. You can see Ohio is one of the many states that's less than 10%. This is important to note as we really encourage you to look over your claims and make sure you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. Here at 501c Services, we do help organizations monitor this. And if you are managing on your own as like a self-reimburser, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. So there are three different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay that state tax we mentioned earlier. That includes the tax rate set by the state and taxable wages. And then the other option is that you can self-insure or reimburse for your unemployment, where you just pay dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So you're only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option, it's kind of a hybrid of both, where you would buy insurance that offers a savings of reimbursing and also providing that safety net. So just to let you know, reimbursing is not for everyone. The qualifications we look at for considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. It excludes religious institutions. We recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more because typically if your payroll is under 1 million, especially significantly less, what you're paying into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal, and you might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there are some scenarios where you could find potential savings. So we would be happy to look at your numbers, even if you're just slightly less than 1 million. And then we also look at a positive audit of the past 3 years so that it means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to see if what you paid each year in taxes exceeds what you're paying in actual claims. Then we want to make sure that there isn't any major disruption in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system. If you know you might have anything coming up that includes like layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where your tax rates could go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. And what it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0%, and the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. The process is seamless for separate employees. No matter how your employee gets separated, they'll go through the same process of your unemployment department, where the state will determine their benefit amount based on the base period pay and number of dependents. And then the only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying into the state unemployment insurance tax, you're now only responsible for charges your organization incurs. So we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation, and we have several in Ohio. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is the main driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing also eliminates any concern of changes in the state tax, such as those tax hikes you can't control. And then you become a better steward of donor dollars as you just pay for your actual claims than putting money into that state pool. Because unemployment is managed by the federal government big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states. It's best with employers with over $1 million in payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. If you're on the borderline, we can certainly talk, as sometimes there may be circumstances where you can consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you are smaller and reimbursing already, we can also still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk. So I do want to talk about how the state tax is calculated. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to show some real cost assessments we've done in the past. And then for the taxable wage base is customized by each state. In Ohio, that taxable wage base is set at $9,000. All employers in the state will pay the same taxable wage base. It represents the first $9,000 of an employee's earnings. There's no maximum and can increase or decrease by any amount each year. The tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. And then to calculate the contribution amount, you multiply the taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for Ohio, it's at $9,000 times the tax range of 0.5 to 10.2%. And then this amount means that if each employee makes over $9,000, a company is paying either between $45 to $918 per employee in unemployment. So I just saw a question in the Q&A box, and I wanted to connect it kind of to the presentation as I looked at it. So it says, we are a reimbursing employer. Why is unemployment allowed for employees that have stolen from the company? So I'm not necessarily saying that employees should get unemployment. I believe for receiving unemployment, it should be for people who get laid off through no fault of their own. So if they were terminated because they had a crime, they shouldn't be getting unemployment, but they can apply. And at times they can win unemployment. And if they are applying for unemployment and you don't want them to get unemployment, you should, with us, we have a team that can help you protest those claims on average. So I'll say this later in the presentation. We do have an 80% win rate. So being part of our trust, we can help you protest. But if someone who doesn't deserve unemployment, they can still apply. But if you don't want them to get unemployment and you want to make sure that they don't win the unemployment, you should protest as soon as you can and collect your documentation. I can also get another resource as well to like explain further, like if someone who you had terminated, they shouldn't be getting unemployment. They could be denied, but there's a possibility if they apply that they could win that unemployment. So definitely if you find out that they are applying, protest as soon as you can and get that information. And then I'll also, for this person, get like a resource after the presentation. All right, and what we do to get started on like a free cost analysis is that we look at your tax rate notice. This is Ohio's tax rate notice, and it includes your tax rate notice that's high, or the tax rate that's highlighted at the top. And the rate for this example, it says 1.7%. And then your taxable rate, your taxable wages from the last 3 years and benefit charges from the last year. So for this example, this organization paid almost $28,000 in taxes and $0 in claims. So their overpayment was close to $28,000. Based on this information, we did recommend for this nonprofit to reimburse, and they eventually did become a part of our trust. Also, there isn't a need to understand every number on this document. We can look at your numbers and see where you could potentially save. And we also have our next two examples that will show other nonprofits with significant overpayments, and then they eventually became our members too. So for this first example of a human services nonprofit we worked with, the taxable payroll was just shy of $1 million. Tax rate was at 4.7%. Estimated claims were almost $200 a year. In this case, we look at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying $45,000 a year. And think of what you can do with an additional $45,000. And then for this next example, the taxable payroll is around $7,000, tax rate 3.38%. Estimated annual claims is $5,900. Estimated unemployment taxes were around $24,000. So they were overpaying $18,000. And a little bit more about 501c services. We were founded in 1982 by a former UCP executive, John Hugstad, and he was looking for ways to save money for his organization. So he came up with the idea of starting a trust, and he created the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became 501c Services, also 501c Agencies Trust. We started at about 25 members here in San Jose, and we've now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits in various ways. In 2016, John sold the company back to his employees, so we're now 100% employee owned. From our receptionist to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And then our services are valued tremendously by our members, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And these are a couple of testimonials our members have shared, and you can go back to these later as I'll send the slides after the presentation. And here we have a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago that includes testimonials from Anika Lund and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall of Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Clubs of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with several Ohio nonprofits. This is a quick snapshot of a few nonprofits here in the state and across the nation that are members. And as you heard them say in the clip, we help relieve nonprofits from the administrative burdens that come with unemployment. And then the first way we help nonprofits is through our claims management. And like the question that we had earlier, our team can help you manage, audit, protest claims. So there are times where there's an employee and they shouldn't be getting unemployment. Typically, it's for people that should get a claim through or gets laid off through no fault of their own. They should receive the benefits, but if they do something, they get terminated and they still want to apply for unemployment, we'll help you protest those claims. So if you become part of our trust, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps. And then our team has an 80% average protest win rate. And then as you become part of our trust, you get a dedicated claims manager, and all of your claims will go through this online portal where you'll be notified once a claim has been filed. So you'll go into the portal and respond to any of the questions. And if in any case you ever go on PTO or don't have anyone to delegate these unemployment tasks, it shouldn't be a problem. For when a claim isn't responded to in several days, it gets escalated and handled. And so a big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see our organization overpay or get hit by those Ohio error rates. So we can help you audit those charges for you. And we will do our best, and we have an 80% average protest win rate to prevent you for paying for a claim if someone gets terminated. And then we want to make sure that you're managing these claims and have enough support to do so. And then our HR services include 3 components. We offer access to unlimited HR consultations. We're a small dedicated team that can answer any of your HR related questions. So if you have an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who can support you and manage any of your HR related questions. We have trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHROOM certified. And then we also have an online knowledge library with our HR services. So with the maximum weekly benefits range of $600 to $810 in the state of Ohio, our goal is to try and keep that cost as low as possible. So if you ever are having to lay someone off, we have our reemployment tool, and it offers packages that can range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. So it's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can help save your organization money. And we have seen that anyone or an employee that uses the reemployment tools or former employee, they tend to get a job 4 weeks faster. So this in return will give you more savings for your organization. And then we have the protection part. It's the insurance part of our program. Most of our members take our stop loss protection that helps them during catastrophic claims. And then other than the catastrophic claims, for managing the highs and lows of unemployment, we have a trust like reserve account, and it's owned by our organization where you would put money in for those potential unexpected number of claims. So I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. If you want to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll as a reimburser. And then for SUI, we would need a copy of that 2025 tax rate notice. So there is a question connected to this slide. It says, we are on the reimburse program already, so this person's a reimburser. How can we calculate what is our possible SUT rate? So we don't, for a reimburser, you don't have a tax rate anymore. What we're calculating as a reimburser is what you could potentially save with us, like joining our membership. So like the fees that you currently have, so you present your 941s, the payroll that you currently have, we create a proposal and it shows like what you're expected to pay in claims or estimated claims, what you're paying already. And then with being part of the trust, it'll include like our administrative fees or how much we charge for the organization. And then also it would be, so our fees and also how much money we recommend you to put in your trust. So it's like a proposal of like how you're reimbursing already, and then what it would cost to be part of our membership. And I see another question pop up. It says, we are a very small nonprofit, under 16 employees. Is being a reimbursing employer a true benefit to us? And if we decided to make a switch to either insurance or the tax route, is that difficult? So I think right now you're probably still paying into the state tax system. And then you want to look into, yeah, it looks like you're paying into the state tax system. That's like basically what everyone does first. And then you can opt out, become a reimburser. If you want to see if reimbursing would be a good fit for you, what I'm going to do after this presentation is I'm going to send the slides with, or the follow-up email that'll include the credits and the slides. And also I'm going to attach a cost assessment form so you can fill out some information. It'll include information needed if you're already reimbursing, and then if you're paying into the state tax system. So the analysis is, or yeah, the analysis for each is slightly different. But if you want to see, since you're just under 16 employees, there's a potential that the numbers might work out and that you could possibly look into reimbursing. The first thing we just have to do is like look at the analysis, and then we'll create a proposal and see what your results are. And the process to become like a reimburser, it isn't too difficult. I will get back to you on like how it shouldn't be that difficult. What you do is like you send a letter of authority to us stating that we'll take over your claims, and then your claims and billing will go through us. And based on, or the billing from the state of Ohio will then go to us once you send over a letter of authority. And then typically January 1st is like when you would officially become a reimburser, but you can also opt out in these next few months. There may be a deadline, and I'll also get back to you on that. Oh, okay. So you are reimbursing already. So what we do is like from the other person that asked, we'll create an analysis. It'll show like the costs you may already be having with actual claims, and then like how much it would cost to be part of our program. With reimbursing, there is a lot of risk reimbursing on your own. So it may be a benefit to you to get a third party that can help you relieve the administrative burdens, and you'll just get a lot more support. And they can also just make sure that you're not overpaying or get hit by any error rates. So it's a really great option if you're reimbursing already, and if you're growing especially, and just the complexity of your organization, it's always a great time to look at different vendors, especially if you're getting bigger and hiring more people. And the other question I got, what are the key differences between our current reimbursed companies? So first nonprofit and yours, so I can compare and choose. So I would have to get back to you on that. My manager has spoken with people that have first nonprofit, and I know that we've had some people switch over from like UST and other competitors. And I will get back to you with the follow-up email and see what her experience was and what other members that used to use first nonprofit or other leads have told us. But I know like we're the very first original company that's been doing this. We've been doing this for over 40 years, and we've been building a lot of other services on top of our claims management system. Like we have our HR services. We also have our own service for the Boy Scouts of America, or Scouting America now. And then we also have like even a religious program. So we're doing claims management of all different like type of genres. But to answer your question about the other competitor, I'll talk to my manager and we'll get back to you in the follow-up email. And no problem. Thank you so much, everyone. Did anyone else have a question? So I will log off in about a minute or so. And so it'll include the follow-up email in the next few hours. We'll include the copy of the slides and credits. And if you are typing as I log off, please feel free to respond to that upcoming email. And thank you again for joining. And I really look forward to speaking with some of you soon. And if you have any potential questions or information you want, this is my contact information. And thank you so much for all the great questions. Like, it was really great conversation. Everyone was very engaging, and looking forward to speaking with some of you soon. Take care.